So this year, I have made it a goal of mine to go and watch more movies out in the movie theaters. Some of those have been re-releases, but most of them have actually been new movies that have come out this year. Instead of giving them their own reviews, I thought that I would compile a list of movies that I've seen this summer. We're not including Weapons in this list because she got her own video, so go watch that if you want to hear what I think about that movie. We're gonna start with the new movie, Honey Don't. This is a movie that like literally just came out maybe last week or something that I'm recording this. It stars Margaret Qualley. It's by Ethan Coen, I believe, one of the Coen brothers. I don't want to give too much of this movie away, but basically Margaret Qualley is this private investigator and she's hired to look into this one person, but eventually that leads her down a path and, you know, the plot thickens. My biggest issue with this movie was just that it felt very unfocused, or that like nothing really in the end got an answer that felt satisfying. I think there was just a lot that was going on as the movie kept going, so by the time that we have to wrap it all up and tie everything in a nice little bow, it just didn't feel as like, here's this nice little bow. It felt like, here's this weird knot mixture thing. I liked all the performances. I thought Margaret Qualley was phenomenal. Like in every scene that she was in, I felt like she just really like owned it. Charlie Day is also in this movie. I really liked him and his performance. He got a lot of laughs out of my audience and I wanted more. I think with how little screen time he had, it worked in the role that he had. Chris Evans is also in this movie and that made me realize how much I like seeing him in these more like unserious or just a little bit comedic kind of roles. Aubrey Plaza was also in this movie and I thought she was good. I just didn't realize she wasn't going to be in it for that much. I guess I thought that she was going to be in it more. I thought the movie also looked great, like visually. I don't know what kind of camera they used or like filter they put on the movie. In my Letterboxd review, I think I said it was just okay, and that's kind of it. The next movie on my list is Together, the horror movie with Alison Brie and Dave Franco. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it really touched on like codependency and these long-term relationship issues very well. Throughout the story, we follow this couple and they're experiencing issues, and it's just like they've just been together for so long that it's hard to confront these issues and like what this might actually mean for their relationship. But with other factors that are happening in this movie, plus the whole body conjoining curse thing that gets put on them, it helps them in working out their issues and that they love each other, and the rest is history, or you know, something like that. Go watch it and see what I'm talking about. I thought it was gonna be more gross than it ended up being. Like just as a body horror, I was like, am I gonna like want to throw up after this? I think the more practical stuff is what really got me. The CGI things I could kind of look past, and it felt very much like the visual embodiment of wanting to crawl into someone's skin, or you know, that whole thing. And I also thought the performances were great. Alison Brie, love her down. That is my girl. She was in my favorite show of all time, shout out Community, and she was great in this movie. And I saw a lot of people saying just things about Dave Franco's performance. I think he played loser boyfriend to a T, like did the damn thing. Anytime he was, you know, doing anything, I was like, dude, get a job, get a hobby, get a car. It was exactly what that character needed, and I gotta give my 10s where they're due. I thought it was also a great mix of horror and comedy. I think there's some times where like it's just not needed, or just it doesn't work in the situation that we're building. But considering the two main leads, I would confidently argue are more known for their comedic and or just like lighthearted roles that they've had in the past. It was a nice mixture of the two, and like letting the actors kind of show their comedic side that we are all familiar with. I didn't really have much to complain about with this movie. I thought it was just overall pretty good, fairly simple plot, and it wasn't all jump scares, which is another thing that I appreciate personally. So this next one is gonna be The Fantastic Four: First Steps, and I'm gonna disclaimer real quick with comic book movies in general. I personally don't judge them like very harsh. Most of the time I go in just expecting to have a fun time. Obviously there are some like comic book movies that will have deeper meanings and this, that, and the third. But honestly, if the movie is like not the worst thing I've ever seen in the entire world, I will most likely have like nothing bad to say. With this movie, visually, I thought it looked really good. The 60s like retro aesthetic that they had made for this, it totally works in like encapsulating you in this world that they are in, and that it's not what you're used to with other Marvel movies. I thought all the performances were good. All the main four, I didn't really have much to complain about there. Vanessa Kirby obviously carried. I don't really think that that's like a hot take or anything. She was great. I loved the mother storyline that they gave her. Big fan of Herbie, okay? I loved Herbie. Herbie got a few laughs out of me. I really liked the villains' performances. Like Galactus, I think he just looked so good, and he gave like, I'm an intimidating threat, you know? And to know that they filmed the scenes where he's basically like thwarting through their city, they filmed it with the miniature and just had the actor just like stepping and crushing everything. I love it. I love it so much. And the Silver Surfer, she was a diva. Anytime that really either one of them weren't on screen, I was kind of wanting more. I was ready for the next time that we were gonna see them. What I didn't really like about this movie, which unfortunately is a big issue for me because it is everywhere in this movie, it's the editing. Just something about the way that this movie was put together for a final product, it just felt really weirdly jarring. Some scenes felt weirdly cut short or just like put in but never fully touched upon. I am aware that like with all the test screenings and stuff that they did before the movie came out, that they had to cut off a lot of like the fat of this movie because it just was not testing well. Why do I kind of like want to see what movie they were watching though? Like I feel like the movie we got, it just felt very like jumbled up, and unfortunately that was like a glaring issue throughout the entire movie for me. I set myself up for failure because I thought that this movie, the ending of this movie, would correlate to what was shown in the Thunderbolts like post-credit shit. With the ship coming in, like in my head, I thought the end of this movie would play out sort of in a way that like puts the family in a situation where they have to put themselves first and like get out of town, get off the planet, like they gotta go. Because Galactus, she's that girl, right? He's big, he's eating the planet, he's ready to get this damn baby. Like, I don't know, I made up a whole storyline in my head, and that's on me because none of that happened in the actual movie. So the next one on my list is I Know What You Did Last Summer. For the most part, I do think the story and like the pacing wasn't terrible. I did enjoy the main group for the most part until the men started just making stupid decisions. My standout performances though were definitely Madeline Klein and Tyreek Withers. Chase Sweet Wonder, she's also in there, but like on the edge, because there was just some lines that I was like, why did they make her say that? I also thought that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt coming back, they were clocked in. Like they actually acted, and I appreciate it. The killer reveal for the most part did work for me, even though I didn't guess it, just up until a certain part, which is what I'm gonna get into, and it's spoilers for the movie, but I have to talk about it because it is like one of the biggest things, probably the biggest thing that I did not like about this movie, and that is Ray being outed as like the second killer and helping Stevie, who's the main killer, helping her with the kills. Because when this happened, I immediately was like, what the hell are we doing here? It just doesn't seem in character at all, and I feel like the reasoning they gave him was even more stupid. He explains to Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, who I can't remember the name of at the moment, he's explaining to her that like this town, they're trying to rebrand and, you know, erase what was done to them. While I get being upset that like they're erasing your trauma and, you know, that whole thing, a town not wanting to be known as like, this town was where a serial killer was killing all these people, you know, however many years ago. Like, a town not wanting to be known for that is completely valid in my eyes. So him saying that is the reason why he basically is inflicting the same trauma that was put onto him onto these other kids that he just doesn't know. Just because this girl that he works with and that I guess her dad told him that he needs to take care of and whatever, just because she said to you know, she needed help with it or she asked for his help. It just all felt very flat to me. It didn't work at all in the slightest. If anything, it infuriated me just simply based on the fact that you really ruined his character with this one choice. With legacy characters like that, I think we really just need to like let them live and just, you know, have them in for their like little purpose and send them on their way. Like, we don't need them to become killers. Like, I didn't understand that whole twist. It just did not work for me. And another thing I didn't like was the Sarah Michelle Gellar cameo. Her cameo, it just felt very like unneeded, unnecessary even. Like, if you took that whole scene out of the movie does not change at all. There was no reason for it, and I stand by it. Okay, so I had to take like an hour break. I don't even know if you could tell the difference, but my friend came and dropped off my birthday present, so we had a chat. But now I'm back. And next on the list, we have Superman. Same disclaimer as the Fantastic Four goes for this one, but another disclaimer for this movie. I'm not super attached to any like other DC movies. I genuinely don't know if I've seen half of them like the full way through. So I just went into this movie like completely unbiased, just letting you know that off the bat. But the only thing that I really didn't like was that everyone kept saying each other's name in conversation, and it's just something that I picked up on like while I was watching it, thinking like this is not really how a normal conversation would flow with somebody that you are, I'm assuming that you've known for a very long time. But that is a common thing in movies when you're trying to establish like who is who, and like, you know, so the audience knows which character is what their name is and everything. So that really was the only thing I didn't like, but everything else about this movie worked very well for me. It's vibrant, a little bit campy, and like really leans into the fact that like this is a comic book. Like, we are going based off a comic book. Like, this is not the real world. From what I remember with other DC iterations, I felt like they were kind of darker or just more gritty in tone. I think it's fun that we're leaning into the fact that like these are fictional characters. This is a fictional world. I enjoyed David Corenswet, who plays the main role. His contrast in playing like the Superman who's out for the public to see versus the kind of Clark that is, you know, not technically under a disguise, is kind of just his like normal self. And then you have when Clark is at work. I felt like with those three almost like personas, they were all different enough, and it was really interesting to see just in what ways they were different and how, I guess, the actor went about playing that. And I'm a big Nicholas Hoult fan, all right? And I was very happy with his performance. I thought he was evil as hell. I also just kept thinking that he was bald as hell in this movie, like bald in real life, and wore a bald cap on top of that. Like, dude, he was bald maxing. I think also the story itself was a lot more interesting than I guess had thought it was gonna be. I really had no idea what we were getting into with this movie, showing how Superman's moral compass works and how his belief for just like saving others and kind of helping out this city that he lives in and other cities and countries that are, you know, on the globe, just helping out humanity in general. That was honestly the most compelling part for me, and really seeing that with like the dog storyline. He says it himself that this dog is not necessarily the best behaved dog, but he's out there and he's alone and he's scared, and like that urge to help those that don't have anybody to fight for them, I thought was very interesting. Kind of to go with that, I loved how this movie made Superman kind of this bigger symbol for hope. That scene with the kids like trying to push up the flagpole and they're all, you know, calling out for Superman, and the adults and everyone else standing there is also calling out for Superman just for any kind of help. It was really moving, and even though it's a fairly simple scene, I think it just conveys a lot that anybody on Earth really is seeing Superman as this like beacon of hope. Even if in the scene it's not him that comes to save the day, he does send someone over there to help these people. I think his resilience in this movie is also shown very well. We see him getting his ass beat, and then he comes back and still tries to help everyone out. Even him finding out that like this mission that he was sent on and the whole reason for his being on Earth is kind of a lie, you know, especially after talking to his father, he still comes back and he helps, and because he knows what is right, and despite the whole message saying otherwise. I'm getting off my soapbox. I could talk about this movie for a while, but honestly, I left the theater feeling motivated. did. I was very, very surprised how much I enjoyed this movie experience. Now for a movie experience that I didn't necessarily enjoy as much. Jurassic World Rebirth. Another disclaimer, who's shocked? I've actually only ever seen the first Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, so I don't really know if that tanked my movie-going experience. Like, did I need more context? Like, who's to say? Personally, I thought the opening scene lacked any tension at all. I could see where it was going, like, the second that Snickers wrapper flew into the door. I don't know what about it just didn't work for me. I don't know if I had seen parts of it already in the trailer and that's why it didn't work. It really didn't set me in a right direction. I feel like after that, I was not very hopeful for the rest of the movie. Then they just kind of like blow through the character introductions and it's really strange. It feels like you're setting up these characters like for the movie, almost like very unnatural. I don't know. Also, the family on the boat, that whole plot line I felt like was very just unneeded, or you should have focused on them more. Like, I don't know which one it should have been, to be honest, because whenever you try to mix the two main storylines together, it felt like two separate movies. Like, I didn't know what we were going for. It felt like we had two half-assed scripts and they were like, let's put these together and make one big movie, and that's what we got. I wrote down that I liked the idea that they brought up where it's like, even though we can, should we, with all these, like, you know, genetically modified dinosaur creature things. But I'll be honest, I feel like that idea is shown throughout every single Jurassic Park movie. Like, that, I don't think that's like a necessarily new idea that this movie brings. Honestly, I didn't mind most of the characters though, like the main, I guess, big three actors. ScarJo, she was great. Really didn't mind her character. I wrote down that I liked all the ideas that Jonathan Bailey's character was bringing up. I think just as a STEM major, like, that was more interesting to me, like the whole ethics behind it and, you know, things like that. And the whole idea that, like, we're not the rulers of the planet, even though we think we are. That was a good scene. I liked that moment. This movie also made me realize that I miss seeing Mahershala Ali on my screen. I need him in more things. Overall, I thought it was just like a decent blockbuster. I feel like it's not necessarily revolutionary or anything like, you know, completely new. Okay, we're getting to the end here. The next movie out on my list is Materialists. This one was kind of a sleeper hit for me now that I look back at it. I don't know, I've just been really thinking about rewatching it lately. Where I went wrong personally is that I thought it was going to be a rom-com. I went in expecting a rom-com, and when I didn't get that and it got serious, I had to take a step back and was like, whoa, what is going on? And I know 100% that that is my fault. That's no one with the movie's fault. Like, that was 100% on me. There was a video of Celine's song going around at the time that I was kind of getting all my thoughts back together for these movies that I had watched. And she was talking about the message of the movie, and I'm gonna read it off what I wrote down. So she's basically talking about how we are so easy to judge those in a lower class or poverty, but that shouldn't be something to look down upon. But that shouldn't be something to be looked down upon, and it's not their fault that they're poor. She says it in a very much more like eloquent and intelligent way, but I thought it was really interesting to hear her, I guess, take on what her movie was saying. Personally, when I watched the movie for the first time, that's not necessarily what I was getting, but I would love to rewatch it, I guess, with that in mind now, because I do think, like, in hindsight, I can see that that might be what she was trying to get across. I might have just been too caught up with the fact that this was not a rom-com that I thought it was going to be. And again, that's my fault. That's not on her. My original thoughts on the movie were that I thought it was an interesting take on a kind of love triangle adult situation. Pedro's character is this like rich, wealthy man who feeds kind of directly into the materialistic kind of lifestyle that Dakota Johnson's character finds herself in. I think on paper, or just like outwardly, he fits exactly the type of man that she should be with. Chris Evans' character is the kind of opposite of that. He's like working to make meets end, and he's just not on the same level financially that Dakota Johnson's character is in, which causes the kind of tiff between them. So she's really trying to like deal with this, like, you know, should she go with this man that she should be with or like might be good for her in some ways, or the man that like her heart really wants. Again, those are my original thoughts on the movie. I really do want to rewatch this, just kind of with a different headspace and, you know, different idea, knowing this is not a rom-com. All right, and the last movie on my list is the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. I think I'm in the minority where I really didn't mind the fact that this was kind of like a one-to-one-ish from the original movie. I'm a big fan of the original movie. All three of those original animated movies I think are great, and I really just didn't mind the fact that this was kind of going on the same story. Mason Thames is the lead who plays Hiccup. He did incredible, especially given the fact that it's easy with these to fall into kind of like a cosplay, or just like, you know, you're impersonating the original dude who did the character, especially since Jay Baruchel I think has such a significant voice and gave Hiccup such a significant personality or kind of delivery on things. I like Nico Parker as an actress, and I don't think she did like a necessarily bad job. I just felt like with Astrid she played her in a different way compared to America Ferrera, how she did in the animated. But again, it wasn't bad. I do think it's just a different take on the character, and I would really like to see how that plays out in the following movies if they do make like a second and a third. I went and caught this movie in IMAX, and I was so happy that I did. It looked phenomenal. The test flight sequence, it was really insane to watch with the score in combination. Like everything about it really worked for me. I thought it was just a really fun live action movie, and especially like for people who didn't necessarily grow up with the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I mean, I could imagine like a little kid or just somebody younger than me enjoying this one as well. I think this also just works better for a live action translation, since we already have like, you know, movies and shows with dragons in it. I feel like this just made sense. You know, there's some live actions that I'm just thinking like we actually didn't need to be doing all that, but this one really worked for me. I had a great time, and that is the end of my list. Those are all the movies, the new movies that I've seen in theaters this summer. If any of you have also seen these movies and have your own thoughts, let me know what you think in the comments. If there's any other movies that I missed or that are coming up that you think I should watch, please let me know. But other than that, I have to go. I'm catching Jaws re-release in theaters in like 30 minutes. So I'll see you guys next time.